What's going on? Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's Jon Does. This is Jon Does episode 53. I'm Jon, and I do stuff. Like today, I put that new light in. That's the green right there. It's going to slowly change to another color. I did that. I made that happen. Very sloppily. But I made magic happen. Because I'm a magician. I'm a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. My name's Jon, not Harry. Thanks, Hagrid. But, here we are. Here we are. I want to start by saying I apologize for yesterday. Having to leave abruptly. It's been kind of busy at the house here. And, yeah, I don't know. Things happen, you know? And yesterday was difficult for me to get the show done live because of when there's too much stuff going on, I can't concentrate. And this isn't a knock on anybody, but I do think for next week, we're gonna have guests here, not on the show, but here in the house. It's like a rotating door of guests for the next week or so. I'm gonna maybe try to do 45-minute long episodes instead of hour-long episodes. Just so it's a compromise I'm able to make. I don't want to cancel any more shows. So yeah, I'm gonna try to do 45-minute long episodes. Today might be one of those days. Currently everyone's gone, but it's been a day. I'm kind of tired already. But before we get started with anything, don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com. That's the best place to support this channel. I just had an idea. Maybe I should start running the 15-second ad in the beginning of the episodes, minus music, so I can talk over it. But I got these sweet tote bags, sweet polyester tote bags. They're really durable. Come with different color handles you can get in red, yellow, and black and stuff like that. But I have a couple of these bags that I use them every time I go to the store. I'm sure the people at Target have recognized my art by now. So yeah, that's what's up. wilddinosaur.com. It's really important. It might not seem like it, but I've put a lot of work into building my empire, as it were. My website, my art, this show. This show is a piece of the puzzle. It's not the whole puzzle. And I do try to put in as much work as I can to give you guys a relatively decent show. I want to do the best that I can, and it can be hard sometimes. It can be real hard. I'm sure you guys have seen some episodes where you're like, what is he babbling about today? Yeah, for now they'll probably be under hour-long episodes. So, yeah, I hope you guys stick around, because I need to grow this channel. I have dreams and aspirations, and this channel is a part of that. So yeah, I'm gonna do my best to be as thoughtful about this as I can, but I'm probably gonna miss stuff about the rings of power. This is episode 4 that premiered yesterday on Amazon Prime, and I'm liking this show more and more. It started off a bit slow, and the things that really kind of not brought me into it, but were more exciting for me were, what am I trying to say? The Harfoots the hobbits, essentially, or what might become hobbits later, because this is a prequel to the Lord of the Rings. Well, this is not based in source material, because Amazon couldn't get the rights, so they're using everything that's in public domain, basically. The Harfoots were some of the more compelling characters for me in this show. And this episode, there are no Harfoots. We don't get any Harfoots in this episode. But you know what? It's okay, because I think the show is actually growing a bit more. The hobbits, in general, in Tolkien lore, tend to represent hope, and I think that's one of the reasons why the Harfoots are so compelling, is they are like actual grounded character, not grounded characters, they're all fantasy characters, but there are like relatable characters, that we and not that we can't identify with any of the others. If you identify with Sauron, you might need therapy. But the Harfoots are just kind of common folk, little common folk, I guess, and quirky and kind for the most part. I mean, there's some sour pusses out there, but for the most part, we as readers get attached. I mean, The Hobbit was the first Tolkien Middle Earth published book, I believe. There might have been some shorts, but that was the first one. And so I think we all kind of attach ourselves to those characters, and the Harfoots are the base, the architecture, or the archetypes for the hobbits coming up in the future. And there's even the storyline with this stranger who we don't know, who's definitely Gandalf. I almost said Ganon. I do that sometimes. I almost call Ganon, I just did it, Gandalf Ganon. And that is completely not right. That's just not right. Ganon is one of the forms of the boss of Zelda. Ganondorf, whatever. Gandalf is definitely the stranger, which I think would make sense for why Gandalf in the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings really trusts the hobbits, is because I think that there is first interaction on Middle Earth, and so far pretty kind to, well, at least one of them is pretty kind. But yeah, there's no Harfoots in this episode, and that's it was a little disappointing, but it's okay because I think things are getting better. A little bit more entertaining. Gladriel, she's in prison in what is it, Numenor? Is that the name of the place? And she has to kind of convince Queen Xenophobe over here to work with the elves. Yeah, it's some of the individual parts of the episode still, like, I'm still a little bit not 100% sure on it was Gladriel, did she just need like help looking and fighting for Sauron from the people in Numenor? Anyways, she's trying to, since she ended up there after the whole boat debacle, what was that, episode 2, after that, she ended up here, and I don't know if she's just recruiting or what. She's just trying to get back there, but yeah, I really like the actress that's playing Gladriel. I think she's really compelling. Just waiting for a little bit more to happen. Not to say that she hasn't done anything in the series, but I don't know. I think overall there's just for me a sense of like let's move on already. But that's just my excitement for wanting to see what's gonna happen. Because again, I've read very little Tolkien, but I have read some, and it wasn't this. Was it the Silmarillion? There was something I had read when I was in Portland, when I lived in Portland, Oregon. I worked at a bookstore at Lewis and Clark College, and there was a Tolkien book. I don't think it was the Silmarillion. I think it was just an elf and like I think it was a story about an elf and the woman he loved, and I think that was the one part of the story. It might have been part of the Silmarillion. I don't remember. It's been a really long time, but I've read some stuff. Nothing that I like can comprehend, or not comprehend. Nothing that I really remember. My reading comprehension is a little slow at times. Especially Tolkien. That has, as much as I like fantasy, like reading Tolkien when I was younger was super confusing to me, and I understood it better than I understood like Shakespeare, but I didn't understand it in the sense of like, why are there 15 people with the same names or like very similar names? It made things really confusing, and there was a lot of characters and whatnot. But I'm a visual person for sure. So, anyways, yeah, the Gladriel is great. I think I saw an interview with her on Stephen Colbert. She seems like super sweet. Like, I think she grew up on a farm or something in Wales. And yeah, she did a whole thing about doing the Welsh alphabet on the show. It was cool. So this queen that Gladriel is trying to talk to, she's been having this vision of a giant wave destroying the city, and they show it like twice in the episode, and it's fucking awesome. It's really cool. This show, I think, is really doing a great job with visuals all around. I haven't seen the one thing I think that's it's not bad at all, but it sticks out a little bit is there's like an orc dog that they show like a couple of times. It's the one thing so far that kind of sticks out CG wise. Other than that, like, the landscapes are beautiful, cinematography is beautiful, yeah, I would say that's the one CG thing that kind of sticks out, but it's not bad at all. It's just like, it's not like an early 2000s superhero movie by any means. It's well done. The way I'll put it is it's maybe a little bit more Hobbit than Lord of the Rings, if that makes sense. It just sticks out a little bit, the CG, but I don't complain about it. It works. It works in the scene, and they've been like pretty. They haven't showed the orc dog, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what it's called. I'm just gonna call it the orc dog. They haven't shown it like a whole lot, so. Sorry, I keep leaning, and I need to find a good, comfortable spot. I think that's good, right there, right? Yeah, good spot, good shot of the guitars and the lights over there. So what else is there? So we didn't get Harfoots in this episode, but we did get a lot more of the dwarves. And I'm really liking the dwarves a lot. Disa is the Durin's wife. Man, I kind of love her already. She just seems really great, and the scene where she is singing to the mountain, that was beautiful. It was cut. The audio was cut with juxtaposed with other things going on. But I really liked the dwarves in general, and particularly the relationship with Durin and Elrod, because of the fact that they talked about it in one of the episodes where dwarves have their lifespan is, I think, I don't know, like 50, 60 years or something. Like, let's just say it's comparable to us mortal humans. And then we've got the elves that live for centuries and like thousands and thousands of years. And one of the things that when we first meet Durin is that he's upset because he thought him and Elrond were friends, and Elrond hasn't been there for 20 years, and it's like, my whole life has passed in this 20 years, or like a huge chunk of my life, and it's been like 10 seconds for you, this 20-year time span. And Elrond like really takes that to heart and is really trying to kind of make amends. Keep calling him Elrod. It's Elrond. He's Elrado. Yeah, the dwarf stuff is really cool, and we get to see like mining not see mining practices, but we get to see the dwarves in a lived-in environment, and we didn't really get that so much in like the Lord of the Rings. I will be honest, I haven't rewatched The Hobbit since they originally came out. Any of those movies, I probably should at some point. And I think there's a lot of dwarves involved in the Hobbit, so that I don't remember how much they get into about where they come from in their the mining stuff particularly, but they really are leaning into it with this because it's eventually going to lead to the creation of the rings. Dwarves are probably involved somehow, but in this episode there's been like a secret that Durin's been keeping, and they found mithril, which, if you remember the films, Bilbo gives Frodo the shirt that he wears underneath his clothes to keep him safe from stab wounds or whatever. It's light as a feather and stronger than iron, I think is what they say about it. Yeah, and I think this is a really strong part of the show is the Elrond relationship with the dwarves. Adar, we don't get much of him, but he seems like a big player. I'm not, again, I don't know who this character is, but he seems like godfather of the orcs, if you will. He's not an orc, or he kind of looks, he's played by what's his name, Joseph, is it Maul, who played Benjen Stark in Game of Thrones, and he, to a degree, he's got a similar kind of look. He's like definitely pale, and there's some like slight scars in his face and stuff like that. And that was I think he pops up at the end of last episode. Yeah, I'm interested to see where we go with him. I've like seen that actor pop up in things, and Benjen Stark was a great role for him. Although I wish we got more. In the books, he's referred to as Cold Hands, and I think there's a couple of more incidences with him. But yeah, the elf and the dwarf storylines are starting to heat up a bit, and I did like this episode. I think we're starting to get really moving now Looking forward to next week's episode. I think we're starting to get into maybe a little bit more movement and action. And then what else is there? Well, there's the whole Isildur storyline where he basically messes up on purpose on his ship job, so they'll fire him. And he volunteers to help take. Well, anyways, this kind of ties into the Gladriel storyline. Is the Queen Regent, who is running things and is very much kind of scared of something. She has this vision of the wave, and she thinks Gladriel is the crux to the whatever destruction might happen in Numenor. And anyways, at the end of the episode, she decides that she is going to escort Gladriel back to I'm not sure where, but one of the elf cities, probably not Rivendell. Yeah, I don't. Linden, is it Linden? I don't know where they're escorting, but they're taking a bunch of ships. They're bringing people, and I think they're gonna try to, work on their issues, their elf human issues. And Isildur, who you might remember from the beginning of Lord of the Rings, he's the one that cuts off Sauron's hand and then takes the ring, and then all kinds of stuff happens. He is a character that has popped up in the show, even though I think the timeline's a little wonky from what goes on in Tolkien lore, but I really don't care. And then there's the I forget the elf's name that was basically imprisoned. And there's a whole nother storyline with these like villagers and this kid who has, it's like the sword of Sauron or something. I don't know what the sword is, but it's pretty badass and dark magic for sure. So yeah, that I'm kind of looking for a little bit more, but we did get a bunch of orcs attacking this kid, and then a slow-mo run through the woods with the bunch of orcs chasing him and the elf dude, which is pretty cool. Again, the show is building. It's still not House of the Dragon for sure. House of the Dragon, I do believe, is probably the best show on television currently. But I think Lord of the Rings the Rings of Power, I do think it still has potential to not to be the best, but be great storytelling. And I just hope people stop complaining about things, to be honest, about like racist characters, not racist characters, about like race swapping characters, because who gives a shit? This whole Little Mermaid thing that's going on as well is hilarious and sad. What's his name? Dickbag Walsh. I think this is his name. Matt Walsh. Fucking what a grifter piece of shit. Talking about it's unscientific for a mermaid to be to be black. And it's like, it's unscientific to think mermaids exist, you fucking idiot. Like, go trim your beard again, because I know that's pretty much all you give a shit about is your beard looking perfect. Anyways, Matt Walsh is a douchebag. I'm going to go to a commercial break, and we'll come back and we'll talk about the Mars Volta, because the Mars Volta record, it's their 7th record, is self-titled. The Mars Volta came out at midnight last night. It's out today. I've listened to the whole thing a couple of times today. I had the opportunity to do that when I was running some errands, and just while I was here as well, working on stuff. And yeah, we'll talk about what tracks I think are really good, and just my overall thoughts on this record. So we'll go to a commercial break, and then we'll come back and talk about Mars Volta.
from Richard's Pet Wedding Facilities. And I give these stickers away at every pet wedding. The kids love them too.
This bag from, what's his name? Wild Dinosaur? Weren't they all wild? Why not see more? Anyways, I like to put my special things in this bag. Plus, I'm pretty sure this is my spirit animal.
Life gave me lemons, so I sold them for this sweet baseball tee. All right. Don't forget to check out wilddinosaur.com, please. I got these cool baseball shirts. I haven't shown that commercial in a while. Maybe I should use that in my intro when I try to get you guys to go to the website in the beginning of the show. Maybe I should just use that as like B-roll, 15-second B-roll. So yeah, wilddinosaur.com. Linda knows what she's talking about. So does Dark John. All right. I know. I can feel the peer pressure. You want me to talk about this? This is the album cover for the new Mars Volta record titled The Mars Volta. It's their first self-titled record, but it's their 7th record. And this is a very interesting record. Little backstory: Mars Volta stems from 2 of the members from the I guess you would call them like post-punk screamo type band at the Drive-In. I didn't really find them screamo as much. I did like At the Drive-In, but I do prefer Mars Volta a bit more. And I've loved Omar Rodriguez Lopez, who's the guitar player, has put out a lot, and I mean a lot of music. I don't remember how many records he has total, but it's probably, I don't know, 70 or something like that. How many records does Omar Rodriguez Lopez have? Oh boy. There's not just a direct number. Oh boy. Oof. A lot. There's a lot. I'm not even gonna try to count these right now. But there's been a bunch of At the Drive-In stuff. I know he did stuff post that in a bunch of punk bands in El Paso. Mars Volta has 7 records, a couple live records, an EP, which is really good. Their first EP came out before their first LP, and then a bunch of other side projects. Omar Rodriguez Lopez quartet, I think. I should talk about one of my favorite records from him at some point. Cryptomnesia is the name of that one, and he did that with Zach Hill from Hella, who's also the drummer in Death Grips, and Jonathan Hiske. I think is how you pronounce the last name. Who did some work with Hella as well, and then it's Omar and Cedric. Let's see, I'm trying to find it. Yeah, Cryptomnesia. El Grupo Nueve de Omar Rodriguez Lopez. That's the name of the group. But anyways, he's done a ton of records. Oh, geez. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Wait. 5 records in 2008. I'm just like picking a random year. There was one year where he put out a ton of stuff, though. I don't remember which one. I think it was 2009. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 records in 2009. Now, there was some more recent stuff that he put out, like a bunch. It was... I can't remember what year it was, but he put out a ton, like just a ton of solo stuff. And he's produced for other bands. So they broke up in 2012. Nocturnicate, which is one of my favorite records. A lot of people don't like that record as much. I happen to really like that record quite a bit. They broke up after Nocturnicate in 2012. So it's been 10 years since they've released material. I don't really know what happened when they broke up. There was a little bit of a public spat. Cedric, the singer, had tweeted some stuff. I've heard some varying things. Cedric has some stories, some issues, some history with the Church of Scientology, and I don't know all of it. I was going to read this story recently that described what was going on with the Church of Scientology, but we'll just leave it at this. Danny Masterson, who played Hyde on That 70s Show, he's in the Church of Scientology. He's on trial for being accused of rape and sexual assault on multiple women. Cedric's wife is one of the people that's trying to hold him accountable. And I do know that the church has gone after them as a family a bit. There's this crazy story about, this was in the article I was going to read last week. I don't remember why I didn't. I think there was something else that came up. Yeah, apparently the church has come to their house and poisoned their dogs, things like that, like crazy stuff. So anyways, they broke up, and it was a pretty public thing, but there wasn't a ton of details. Cedric and Omar have been making music together for, I think they've said like 25, 30 years or something like that. And they've worked it out. They're, friends again, whatever issues had gone on. They have produced music together since. They did a project, what was it called? Antamaske, I think is what it was called. I think. Forgive me. It's been a while. I don't retain stuff very much. Particularly, I don't retain track titles or album titles very well. For some reason. Track titles, especially with Mars Volta, are very difficult for me. So the first track is called Black Light Shine. It was the first single that came out, and I really like it. It's a cool little groove. It's got some like Latino heat to it. And I mean that it's got a lot of like hand percussion, like Latin style percussion, with like congas and stuff like that. And I really liked the track. I was excited. It was the first thing I'd heard. They had done a find the cube thing where they put up this cube in specific locations, and the nearest one was in LA, which is a little farther than I wanted to drive to go listen to a sneak peek of a track, but it pretty soon popped up on Reddit, and so I had the chance to listen to it. But yeah, Black Light Shine is a good track. I do like. There's 3 singles that are out, that were out before the record, and I liked all of the singles. But now that the record's out, I think there's other tracks I'm gonna listen to probably a little bit more, even though the singles are great and a good example of what this record is. The next song is Graveyard Love. It was probably my favorite of the singles. It's got like undertones of this like electronic, like arpeggiated bass. I'm not trying to express all the elements of each song, but just what I feel from them. And Graveyard Love, Black Light Shine really do feel like Mars Volta songs, but they feel new in the sense of like more refined. None of the songs on this exceed like 4 minutes. I think I think the longest track, hold on, let me pull up my Spotify real quick. The longest track is 4 minutes and 12 seconds. It's the last track on this record. All of these songs are like 2 to 4 minutes. So yeah, it is kind of easy to get through. Like, I might make up my own little mix of songs from this. I tend to do this when a record comes out and I'm really into something. I'll just cut out songs. Like, I'll make a new playlist and cut out the songs that I'm not really into. And kind of listen to it that way as a whole. Which, I don't know, some people are like, why would you do that? But it's what I like. So song number 3 is called Short Story. It's very slow. It's a crooner song for sure. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot more presence to Cedric's vocals throughout this whole record. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this one. When I first listened to this, I'd seen somebody had posted yesterday, last night sometime, that before midnight, that the record was on Bandcamp. And so I listened to it off Bandcamp, and, you know, Blacklight Shine, then Graveyard Love. I was like, okay, cool. I know these. I'm ready for this. And then the third song just slows down. It's not a bad song by any means. It might be my least favorite. But with Mars Volta, it's not that there's for me, it's not that there's a least favorite. There's just stuff that I'm not ready for, if that makes sense. Almost all Mars Volta, like, I'll start off listening to one group of songs, and then in like a year or two, I'm listening to the other group of songs because I've listened to those first ones, the ones that I attached so closely to so much, that it's almost like listening to a new record because I don't listen to. Like I said, I'll make a playlist where I'll exclude songs, and then like a year or two later, I might be like, all right, let's listen to that other record, and it's the same record, just songs that I didn't put on there. Song number 4, Blank Condolences. This song also, I think, will have to grow on me a little bit more. You know what? I'm going to put my headphones on real quick because I need to hear a couple of sneak peeks. It's hard for me to talk about stuff when I don't really have, I don't know, unless I'm talking about a specific track. So I'm gonna just do a little. Oh, okay. I remember this one. Yeah, it's good, and I think other Mars Volta fans will be into maybe this track. There's a couple of tracks that I think Mars Volta fans will be into. Yeah, it's not that this sounds like anything that they haven't done, but this whole record is it's so much more pointed. It's a refined version of the band. Then we get track 5 is Vigil, and for the singles, this was the most representative I felt of what this record is. Because it's not like a rock jam, you know. Blacklight Shine, I guess, and Graveyard Love for singles were a little bit more like rock jams, if that makes sense. Oof. And Vigil feels a little bit like, it's not quite a ballad, but it's not quite, I don't know. I remember somebody saying that there's a little bit of like Fleetwood Mac in this record, and I don't disagree, but it's hard to say like, yeah, this sounds like Fleetwood Mac. It does not sound like Fleetwood Mac. But Vigil is also, I don't know. I didn't have any of the singles. I didn't dislike any of the singles. Vigil took me a second to get into, and I had to listen to it a couple of times to be like, wow, this song's great. But I don't know. It's those singles, they kept changing position for me. I think Graveyard Love is probably my favorite of the 3, but they're all really good. Vigil, I think, has a little bit more like soul to it than the others, which you feel in other parts of the record as well too. What's this called? Que Dios te maldiga. My Spanish is terrible. Mi corazón. I love the rhythm and flow of this song. It's super short. It's like a minute and 44 seconds or 41 seconds, and like it's very much like there's a lot, like it's straight up just like a Latin rhythm track, and I can groove to that for sure. I do love the like Latin percussion. They've always thrown stuff like that in, like it's littered throughout even their earlier records, you know. They'd beef up their drums and rhythm sections with like a second drummer, and it would be like Omar's brother or somebody else on percussion, like congas and a bunch of like shakers and stuff like that. But yeah, then it gets a little heavier at times. Track number 7, Cerulia. This track is starting to grow on me. It was one that I was like, oh, I don't know if I like. My first listen through on the record was like just trying to find stuff that I liked, and then gradually the record becomes more of like okay, let's find things in the things that I didn't like. Let's find things that I do like in the things that I didn't like, and or didn't connect with. And this one is really beautiful. There's some really good vocal harmonies in this. And yeah, this one's growing on me. This might be one of those tracks that like next year I'm like, this is my favorite song. Right now there's other ones that I like more, but this could be one of those ones. Because it does, you know, it is the term crooner tracks are scattered throughout this record for me. There's so much presence in Cedric's vocal. There's not a lot of experimentation where like you would have a bunch of. I remember watching clips where he would be singing and then he'd have a pedal board in front of him and he would be like affecting delays and reverbs and stuff, and that's not going on really at all in this. Of course you get things, you know, add some reverb here or there, maybe a little delay or something, and whatever you do with, you know, like mixing the harmonies, but like this isn't as experimental vocally, and it's really cool to see that because I love to see the beauty in their music, and there's always beauty in art, but this one feels beautiful and not aggressive. And I don't mean that as like I don't like aggressive stuff, because I do, and I do find beauty in aggression. Their first couple of records had a lot of that, but this is very, very much a mature Mars Volta record. Let's see. Then there's Flesh Burns from Flashbacks. This is a great song. This to me feels there's maybe 2 songs that feel the most Mars Volta. This one to me feels like that, but I think, yeah, it's just like, it's very reminiscent of like other Omar produced tracks. You know, you get the like kind of like, I don't know if they're off time drums, but the like jazzy kind of off chime like drums. There's some like reverse guitar tracks. It feels a lot like stuff that I've heard from Omar, but like a newer, refined version. And sorry, I was just making sure that the audio wasn't coming through from my headphones. I don't want to get claimed, or at least get a warning or anything. But yeah, this one's good. It's a dark brooding kind of song, like they kind of typically do, but there's not a burst of like energy in it like some of their other tracks. It's very consistent in its like in its vibe, in its tone, I guess. Palmful of Crux is, I didn't realize this, but I was looking on Reddit, which is maybe the worst place to look for stuff. I've been paying attention to the Mars Volta Reddit page just to see what people were saying. And you know, there's people that are like, I hate this record, and there's people that are like, this is their best record, and I'm like, hey man, I don't care what you have to say. I'm just gonna listen to this and whatnot. But I used Reddit as a place to like find where tracks were being released or news articles and things like that. And this track, Palmful of Crux, as far as I understand, is about their late band member Jeremy Michael Ward, who was a founding member and used to do like a lot of the sound manipulation stuff. This is a really beautiful track, and yeah, it just gave me the feels. Track number 10. This is one of my two favorites of this whole record. I do feel like some of the back half is better than some of the middle part, because the first third of the record is like singles, and I don't know, it's stuff that I'm familiar with. You know, I've heard a lot of it now, but this No Case Gain, it's like, it is probably their most punk rock song. It's very tame for punk rock. My note here says punk rock new wave groove, which I don't know if that makes sense. My note says punk rock new wave groove for matured rockers. But yeah, this is still one of my favorite tracks. Yeah, and I keep singing the chorus. Hold me underwater for 2 minutes longer. It's great. I really like it. Tourmaline is track number 11, and I heard people on Reddit talking about how much this was their favorite track, and I'm gonna love it so much. Or if you're a fan of this kind of Mars Volta or that kind of Mars Volta, it's their best track. This also might take me a little bit to get into. It is a little bit more reminiscent of earlier like acoustic stuff, like Televators, which was one of my favorites for a long time off that first record. And yeah, I think this is gonna take me a little bit to get back to, just because there's other tracks that I like. But Tourmaline none of these tracks are like garbage tracks by any means. There's, you know, some just hit you more than others do. Track 12, I don't even know how to pronounce this. Equus, Equus 3. Man, this is another great track. It's a broody electronic, bassy kind of track. It feels like, kind of like, what was the other track that I was saying? Feels like Flash Burns from Flashbacks, track number 8. It kind of feels like that a little bit, where you do get a little bit more like experimentation, but even in their experimentation in these tracks, it's very limited. I mean, like I said before, the longest track on this whole record is 4 minutes and 12 seconds, which is the last track on the record. When they've put out records with songs, literal, like one song that's like 20 minutes, 30, 40 minutes long. Which one was that? Was it Francis the Mute? That they ended up cutting it up, and like, oh my gosh, one track on there is like 20 minutes long or something. I don't remember the times. And I'm not going to pull them up right now, but okay. Track 13. Track 13 is called Collapsible Shoulders. And this to me is probably, I think this is my favorite track off of this whole record. It's 2 minutes and 24 seconds. And I really attached myself to the song when I first heard it. I was listening to it on headphones, which I always recommend listening to new music on headphones. And musically, I just got really attached to the guitar and a lot of the guitar parts. Mars Volta has been one of my favorite bands because I feel like, and this isn't like I'm trying to be like them or anything like that. I'm just trying to live my life and like my own music tastes and my own things. There's been a lot of parallel things happen. When they put out a record, I feel like I'm in the same place that they are musically, and I really liked this last track. No, it's not the last track, but it's the second to last track. Collapsible Shoulders. And yeah, the guitars in there, they do weird like reversey stuff. There's a lot of kind of chorusy. It sounds like stuff that I've been trying to pull off with my own guitar sound, which is I think one of the big reasons why I really like this track a lot. And the vocal melodies throughout this whole record. The final track is called The Requisition. And I think there's been other Mars Volta fans saying that they feel like this feels a little bit like old Mars Volta. Probably. I'm not trying to compare it to other stuff, but it does. I guess it does. Like, you know, it's got some low points, and then it gets a little bit aggressive. Nothing's like over the top aggressive, maybe like how they have been in the past, and that's totally cool. But yeah, The Requisition is this last track. 14 tracks on this record, self-titled The Mars Volta. I think my last final thoughts on this are, not to totally repeat myself, but the vocal melodies are really the glue of this whole record. Mars Volta has been known for most of their songwriting to be metaphorical, and a lot of the time Cedric would be given like a word, and then he was to take that word and find a way to fit into whatever Omar was doing or whatever the rest of the band was doing. And the lyrics on this, I'm not trying to unpack all of them, but they are the most straightforward lyrics I think we've gotten from Mars Volta ever. You can feel there is life behind the songs, and what I mean by that is, like, when I listened to the first record, Deloused in the Comatorium, there's a bunch of, like, you know, metaphorical things, very visual and surreal lyrics, and this is very much like a lived-in scenario. Like, again, Cedric has had some experiences with the Church of Scientology, and that is part of the lyrics in this. And there's one of the tracks, which was it? Palmful of Crux, I think. It was a ballad-like track, you know, regarding their late friend Jeremy Ward. Continuing the trend that they have as a band of, like, honoring him throughout the discography. I believe Francis the Mute was based on a journal that Jeremy Ward found on a tour bus, I think. This is the most mature Mars Volta I've ever heard. I really like this record. It's probably gonna fit right now, maybe my third or fourth favorite record slot. But as time goes on, I'll recap how I feel about this over, you know, multiple listens over multiple weeks, stuff like that, and how it really sinks in. You know, my two favorite tracks currently are no case gain and collapsible shoulders, and we'll see how that is in a couple of weeks. I'll I'll check in with you guys again and let you know how I'm feeling about them. But yeah, this is the most mature and refined Mars Volta. Again, their tracks are, people were referring to this as a pop record. It's pop in some ways, and I think the most glaring pop about it is the fact that, like, it's mixed like a pop record, kind of. The vocals are very much the center piece of this whole thing. And yeah, it just, I don't know. I like this record. I'm gonna have to give it a Smelly Pit rating, huh? Let's do it. Let's go. What do I think? Is that the right button, or is it this one? Nope, not that one. That's the one. What am I gonna give? The Mars Volta record, their 7th record, I believe, 7th LP. I'm gonna give it currently probably a 4.5 Smelly Pit rating. That's where I sit with it. We can revisit this a little bit later, but I think my Smelly Pit rating is 4.5 currently. Have you guys listened to Mars Volta? What do you think about that? Did you watch the Lord of the Rings series? How are you guys feeling about that? I know some people are having issues with it, but I'm not. I mean, it's been a little slow, but fantasy can be slow. Storytelling can be slow, I guess. But anyways, yeah, that's the show, guys. I like the Mars Volta, and I like the Lord of the Rings. So leave me a comment, like and subscribe and share and do all the fun stuff that you need to do. You at home. I see you. I am the Eye of Sauron. Well, yeah. So this is, the end of the show is usually where I ask a lot of stuff from you guys. Like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, do all that stuff. Check out wilddinosaur.com. That is my website. There's a merch store there. I got cool baseball tees, regular t-shirts, sweatshirts, all kinds of cool stuff. Tote bags that look great. They are great. I use mine all the time. And the final thing I'm gonna throw at you is, I have a link in the description to donate to Planned Parenthood, because I think it's super important. Reproductive rights, healthcare rights in this country are garbage. Healthcare just sucks in general in the United States, unless you have money, like a lot of it too. But anyways, Planned Parenthood does great things. They help men and women. They do a lot more than just what you hear in media. They're really great. I've had personal interactions with Planned Parenthood in the past, and I've appreciated them quite a bit. So, if you are, feeling up to it, please go fight the good fight and help those frontline fighters. Planned Parenthood. Anywho, that's it for me today. Thank you for joining me this week. I apologize yesterday. Again, things got a little short, but I'm going to try to, just for the next week or so, they might go longer, but I'm going to just say each episode's going to be about 45 minutes instead of a full hour. Just, there's a lot going on for me next week. School starts on Monday and Tuesday, and then, which again is why Monday and Tuesday is 5 o'clock shows. And then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday are 6 o'clock shows. But we have people here at the house, so it can be a little difficult for me to get a show fully produced and done. You've seen I've had problems getting graphics together for shows, things like that. I would like a producer, actually. If you're a producer and you want to co-produce a podcast or even co-host a podcast, this is your guy. Hit me up. Let's talk. All right. Well, for Jon Does, that's it. Yeah, I hope you guys have a good weekend, and I'll see you on Monday. Peace out.